Hello, welcome back to my channel and welcome to another reading vlog where I'm gonna be reading The Rage of Dragons. So The Rage of Dragons is book 1 in the Burning series, which is a fantasy series, and I knew absolutely nothing going into this book. I mean, I only knew that it was fantasy and that it probably had dragons, and I mean, honestly, there is no need for more. That is enough for me to be interested. And so, yeah, I bought these books a few months ago and I have just been dying to get to them. And also, I love the cover. Like, it's so pretty. And I also want to say that there are spoilers for what happens in this book in this reading vlog. And having said that, let's just get into it. I want to start by saying that I love to read or watch anything that can make me suffer, that can just break my heart. And so I am loving this book because so far it's just pain. I am on page 142, and that is chapter 4 because there are like really big chapters with smaller chapters inside, and so I am around 25% in. And like I said, it's only pain because we have a prologue which also has chapters, but we have a prologue and we are following a queen and she's bringing her people to a new place, and so they're basically having to fight with the people who were originally from that place because we know that they're running from something or someone, and they call it the Cull, and they say that they need to find a new place, they need to run from there to be safe, and she's willing to do whatever she needs to do to be safe. And so yeah, basically the book starts with a battle which was intense and I did not see coming. And like when I started reading this book, I had no idea what it was about, except that obviously it has dragons because there is not like a synopsis in the back. And so yeah, I had no idea what this was about. But basically, like I said, there are dragons and they can, like, there are some people from that Queen's people that they have special powers, I guess. They call them the gifted, and there are different types of gifted, but there are some, like the Queen, who can call dragons. And so the dragons, also they were led to that place by the dragons, if I'm remembering correctly. And when they're fighting, she calls a dragon to help them win the battle. And yeah, they end up winning, but obviously they lose a lot of people. And the end of the prologue is actually like what says here, like in the first page of the book, and I'm gonna read it because, wow. Queen Taifa had the will to do what must be done. Striding past the bodies of the gifted she'd sacrificed and ignoring the horrified faces of her ruling council, Taifa turned away from the foreign land that would be her people's new home. She quit the ship's deck, descending stairs that took her from light to dark, and finding herself alone in the false twilight, placed a hand to her stomach. She had so little of Tsiori left, but what she had she would protect. Let them think me a monster, the Dragon Queen thought. I will be a monster if it means we survive. So yeah, like I said, intense from the start. And then when we move on to chapter 1, it's I think 186 years later. Yeah, it says cycles, but I'm assuming cycles are years. So 186 cycles, years, whatever, later. And we start following a boy called Tao. And we quickly learn that the queen who was ruling at that time has died, and so there is a new queen ascending the throne. And then the place where Tao is in is attacked, and they need to fight. And Tao actually kills someone for the first time, which is very traumatic to him. And like I said, pain. And also Tao is going to have a test, and he has like a plan because he's saying, I'm in love with Zuri, and I'm not a killer. I want to marry her, but I can't if I have to leave her to fight in the war as a Ihashe or Ihago. And if I refuse either option, I will be made a drudge, and we'll never be together. I have to pass my testing for the Ihashe. After I do, I'll be sent to complete my training. I'll be injured badly and have to come home. And when I come home, I hope I can work in the keep. It's better than I deserve. But he's basically asking, because there are like the noble people and I think they call them lessers, and Tao is a lesser, and he's asking one of the nobles who is his friend to basically find him a job when he comes injured. And so yeah, there is gonna be that. And also Zuri, the girl he likes, is going to be tested to see if she is gifted. And he goes with a bunch of boys his age or around his age to be tested, and he like is practicing like sparring with a guy who's a noble, and he basically wins the fight because he's just better. But since the other boy was a noble, there was another guy there who was really outraged, like how dare a lesser hit a noble, you know? And then he starts like talking shit to Tao, and Tao, you know, replies, and so he wants Tao to like be punished, but then Tao's dad fights in his place and he is killed. So like I said, this book is just pain and more pain. And so the test is actually cancelled and they all get back, and obviously Tao is super sad, and there is another one of the nobles, and he starts like just basically annoying and taunting Tao, and Tao, you know, again talks back, and he wants to basically hang him, I think, for just like disrespecting a noble. And the other noble, who is his friend, like the one I talked about before, says that he's not going to be killed, but he has to basically go away. He's not welcome there anymore. It basically banishes him. And again, sadness. And also when he gets there, he's like talking to Zuri as he's packing everything to leave, and Zuri turns out is gifted. He decides that he's basically going to kill everyone that has caused his father's death and that has just been horrible to him and his dad the whole time. And he goes to the house of that guy, the one that wanted to hang him, and he says, I'm here to tell you how you'll die. I'll join the military as an Ihashe initiate. I'll pour my soul into the craft of killing, and I will wait for you to rise to 5th leadership. Paul will give you military status, and you will know despair. Every day, every season, every cycle, you'll live in fear, unable to enjoy the taste of food, the sun's warmth, or the night's breeze, because one day I'll come. I'll challenge you to a blood duel, petty noble Lekan Onai, and you will die on the end of my father's sword. I am your curse. I am your end. Which I was like, iconic. But then the other guy, Lekan, he started to fight Tao. So Tao actually killed him. You know, I was actually looking forward to this revenge plan, but he just killed him, which was also enjoyable. I'm not gonna say it wasn't. But yeah, he just kills him, and then like I think it was like a servant from the house or whatever gets there, but he knew Tao, so he actually let him escape. And then the end of chapter 3 was him saying, Kellen Okar, Dejan Olojimi, Abasi Odili, he said to himself. There were 3 men left to kill. So yeah, I think this was like the setup so far, and I am loving it. I am suffering, but in the best way possible. And yeah, I really like Tao. He's so precious, and even though his life really sucks and has sucked like always, he's still so precious, and I am really looking forward to him killing people basically. And as always, the beginning of a new fantasy book is overwhelming. I think I am understanding the basics, but there is a lot I still don't understand and don't know, and I am very intrigued. Really, really liking it. And yeah, like I said, pain. Okay, so I am on page 362 of the book, and we are still following Tao, obviously, and after he was banished from his town, he basically decided to go somewhere else to be tested for the army because that is part of his revenge plan. And while he is like there at that place to be tested, he's talking to someone and it mentioned the cull. And someone says like something about the cull, and then it says here, Tao wasn't afraid of the cull, of the mythical silver-skinned immortals. He'd never seen them. He knew no man, woman, or child who'd ever seen them. They were fairy tales to hide the real evil, the evil on the stage in front of him. So the cull are silver-skinned immortal people. And I mean, we know it's not a fairy tale, or at least I'm assuming, because in the prologue, the queen was actually like terrified of the cull and of them being found by the cull, so they're real. And also, I did not expect them to be that, but anyway, he starts the testing and he almost loses his first fight because I think they have to win 10 fights to make it into the army, the Ihashi. And he almost loses his first, but then he, remembers his motivation to avenge his father's death, and he wins his first fight. And then he gets through day one, and then like the fighting continues on the other days, and he goes against a guy who's actually like way bigger and stronger than him, and he does not win that fight. It's a draw, and he's actually knocked out. And when he wakes up, there are two people with him, two other boys, and both of them have won 10 fights, so they're in the army. But apparently so is Tao. And we learned that he was accepted because the guy who is in charge of like that particular group of fighters saw that he had so much determination, even though he was like physically not as strong as the other boy or even like others. And so he decided to take him into the army, and he is now part of the army he wanted to be in. And they are actually supposed to be fighting some of the groups of nobles, because there is like the army of the nobles and the army of the lessers. And they are supposed to be fighting the nobles as sort of practice, but it's not exactly practice because like people die there. And the best, like the victors of those fights will make it into the queen's melee. I don't know if that's how you say it, but basically, yeah, they're gonna have to fight the nobles, and they are like physically stronger, and they also have the gifted, so the women who can use powers. And one of the powers they use mostly is like they use the enervators, and basically, I'm not entirely sure how it works because it was explained, but I am still confused. But basically they can like send you into another sort of dimension that has demons, and the demons can attack you, and you will like, they will not exactly physically attack you, but you will feel like they are attacking you. And so yeah, they have those fights, and they head to that place where they will be fighting the nobles, and obviously they are at a huge disadvantage, and Tao is seeing that most of the groups of lessers are losing. And then he's saying, after watching the Indlovu crush his brothers, he no longer felt eager. Tao understood the point of the games. The nobles were bigger, stronger, and faster than the lessers. True, the skirmishes between them were meant to train the Omehi for war, but they were also meant to remind the lessers of their place. And exactly, like, even though the groups of nobles have a smaller number of people, but they are much stronger, they're much bigger, they have those people with the powers. So obviously the lessers are at a disadvantage, and like they never win. But Tao is determined to basically make his group win. And in that place, he actually finds Zuri, because I think I mentioned in my other update that she learned that she was gifted. So she is there to basically learn how to use her powers. And they meet, and he talks about his revenge plan, which Zuri is not loving. And as usual, just this book is sadness. And Tao is honestly kind of like losing his mind, because he attacked one of the guys from his group. Like the only thing he thinks about is fighting and killing and just avenging his father, like killing those men, which I understand, obviously, but yeah, he's kind of losing it. And then he's talking to Zuri, and he's kind of like asking how the innervation works and like the place they get sent to. And the place they get sent to is called Izihogo, which I am probably saying wrong. Also, I'm probably saying everything wrong, so I apologize, but I never know how to pronounce anything. But yeah, basically, Zuri is telling him Izihogo is the realm of Ukufa and his demons. It is the prison the goddess made to hold them. Everything began with Ananthi when she spun the universe out of her desire for more. She created the sun, stars, Humlamba, and all that is between them. She made all the creatures and she made all the races of men, each of them unique in the way they commune with her. Gifts. Every race has unique capabilities. The races of men, however, were combative, destructive. Ananthi needed to create order among them. She set the races of men tests. These were tests of service, honor, will, passion, empathy, and intelligence. It took 1,000 cycles for the tests to be complete, and when they were, Ananthi created order. The castes, and she made the Omehi her chosen, and placed all others below us. We are Ananthi's voice on Umlava, and that did not sit well with Yukufa. He gathered the following, women and men from many of the races, and corrupted them with lies. Ukufa had gained power beyond the abilities of other men, and the fight that followed was so devastating it split the earth into masses of land, divided by rivers that became seas, seas that became oceans. The sky, once pure and whole, smoked and burned, the fields flat and bountiful, dried and cracked, until all the races of men grew fearful that Umlava would turn to desolate a place to sustain life. And so then the Omehi, attacked the Yukufa and his guys, and there was a fight, but Ananthi, who I think is the goddess that they keep talking about, so she was weak, but she had to win the war, and she basically decided to end the war the only way she knew how. And so she wrapped herself around Ukufa and his corrupted, trapping them. And she used the energy of her being to form a prison, an impenetrable new realm. And then, the prison was closing, so Ukufa made an offer, he promised immortality to those calling to him, immortality in exchange for their souls and service. And then, the last part, it says, the cowards accepted, swearing to kill us all. They swore they would eliminate Ananthi's chosen, and in doing so destroy Ananthi, allowing Ukufa to escape the prison. In this way, the weakest among us became the strongest, for though they can be killed, they do not die from age or sickness. And then Tao says, you're describing the Kull. So these are the Kull? I am so confused. And then, she describes a little more about Izihogo and what happens there, and she says that everyone can enter it, but the corrupted, the demons, attack all living souls seeking vengeance for their imprisonment. They can do no physical harm, which was what I said, so long as the soul they seek to destroy does not draw energy from Izihogo. But the gifted, they can't actually draw energy from there, but they can hide themselves from the demon. So they can be drawing energy from the underworld, and that's how the enervators attack the other people, I think, but they remain hidden from the demons, which is why the demons will attack the other people who are there, but not them. And so Tao wants to enter the underworld dimension and kind of stay there and practice to just survive, not just survive, but not be as affected as people usually are when they come back from the underworld, because he wants to be attacked by the enervators and then be able to just fight them when he comes out, which is not what typically happens. And he just wants to practice that. And Zuri thinks it's a terrible idea, but he wants to do it anyway. And he actually goes in there, but doesn't really go well. And then he sees one of the guys who's responsible for his father's death, and he starts attacking him. But the guy's super confused because he doesn't even know who Tao is. And then people from Tao's fighting group, they get there, and the guy, the one from the nobles, he doesn't even press charges. He's just what the fuck just happened, and leaves. Because also Zuri, since she's one of the gifted, she's an important person, and she tells the nobles to not hurt Tao. But let's just say that his revenge plan is not going that great so far. And then after that whole confrontation, his the leader of his group, he's definitely not happy with what he's doing. And then he tells him about their entire group, because everyone is except for Tao, everyone in their fighting group is a child of one noble and one lesser. And people usually say that there are no children of lesser and nobles because they're like the babies just die, they're stillborn. But apparently that is not true. And yeah, that guy is just joining a whole group of those kinds of people. And Tao, it just shows, like I said, because he had a lot of determination. And then Tao is saying, they tell me that we're winning the war. It's not true. Like against the people who are originally from that land, like in the prologue, the ones that the queen fought to have her people go there, they're still fighting with like the natives from there. And says, they're telling me they're winning the war. It's not true. They tell me that the offsprings of nobles and lessers die in childbirth. It's not true. They tell me that we are lessers, but I'm starting to think that's also not true. And then like his leader says, you won't help your people if you don't know your place. It does says, I don't think I like the place they set for me. They don't know what I am, but I can show you. Which, like, iconic. And so basically Tao keeps, practicing. The only thing he does is practice fighting, like from when he wakes up until he falls asleep. That is the only thing he does. He's there before everyone else. He leaves after everyone else. And that is all he does. And then he keeps going into the underworld and keeps fighting the demons because he just keeps wanting to be stronger and stronger. And he does end up being much stronger than all the other people in his group. And then they're going to their last fight with the nobles to see if they make it into the queen's melee. And yeah, he fights a bunch of, I think they say it's 8 of the nobles. Like, he doesn't exactly win, but he fights a lot of them and he kicks a lot of ass. And their group ends up winning and they are now in the queen's melee. And yeah, this book continues to be intense. And I definitely like how many fight scenes we're getting, because it's not only the actual fights, we also get to see Tao training, practicing, and I really like that because I usually love fight scenes. And I'm definitely having a lot of fun with that. I still like Tao, but I am kind of worried about him because, like I said, he's kind of losing it a little bit. But the plot is super interesting. I'm still super invested in the story. But I mean, I am loving what I'm reading, but I think I would like a little more. Not that I don't love like following Tao and what he's doing, but I don't know. I think I just wanted to learn a bit more about their history, their past, like the queen, the powers. We are learning, but I don't know exactly what I'm missing, but I am missing something. But having said that, I am definitely still having a lot of fun with this book and still very invested and still loving Tao and his revenge plan, path, stuff. And yeah, I will probably update when I read around maybe 100 pages more. Okay, so I ended up reading up to page 526, which was definitely more than what I said I would, but I was just vibing. So the first thing I think we see after my last update is that Tao talks to Zuri and she tells him that she's going south with a group of nobles, I guess. And he tells her that he's been just going to that underworld dimension and fighting with the demons, because basically, I don't think I explained this, but he's doing that because time passes differently in that dimension, and basically by fighting there, he has more time to practice and get better. But it's obviously a terrible idea because he just keeps being attacked and like killed by demons. he's actually like killed in there, which is when he wakes up in his real world. So Zuri is definitely not happy about that decision. And then they're talking about how like that dimension works, and also how some of the gifted can call the dragons. And there is like another power that is called entreating. And basically entreat, they can call on the dragons by using that power. But basically they have to draw a lot of power from the underworld, and it gets to a point where they draw so much power that they lose their ability to be like concealed from the demons. And she says that so every time a dragon is called, one of the gifted dies. And also like the way how they call the dragons is basically like they have a young dragon trapped, and then they mimic the young dragon's calling, and the big dragon comes attracted to like the voice of the young dragon, thinking that he's gonna find the child. And that is how they call the dragons, which is just horrible. And after talking to Zuri, Tao gets back to like his group, and he ends up telling like what his whole plan is to kill those men who are responsible for his father's death. And his sword brothers, it's what they call each other, offered to help, but Tao isn't really looking for that. He just wants to get his revenge. And so he goes after one of those guys, like he follows him, and he's meeting, like he's with a group of other people, and they are meeting a group of the natives from the land they're in, and they are discussing like a treaty of peace. And basically I think that like one guy of the natives is supposed to marry the queen, and also they show that they have managed to get their people to use the gifts that only the Omehi, I think that's what they're called, were supposed to be able to use, but the others are actually also able to use it now, which is very shocking to Tao and to me. And he was not expecting like any of that conversation, but he ends up going back before he gets found and killed. And then the queen's melee, I think that's how the like Google Translate said the word, but again, I don't know if that's how you say it. But yeah, it starts, and Tao's group actually wins the first fight against the nobles, and like all the lessers that are there watching start cheering, and they're like very happy that, you know, their people are succeeding when they never do. And then they finally get to the fight that Tao is waiting for, which is against one of the guys responsible for his father's death, and he's called Kellen. And we actually learn a bit about Kellen. We have a chapter from his POV, and we learn that he did not want to do what he did. He had to because he was forced by another guy. And so I guess he's not that bad. And then, yeah, it gets to the fight, and Tao's group is hiding because they are outnumbered. And then the other guy, Kellen, starts talking about Tao's father to like draw him out. And he does go out, and then he's like very outnumbered, but he doesn't want to stop fighting. But the leader of his units says that they are surrendering because there is just no way they're gonna win. So they surrender, and the other guys win the fight. And after that, while Tao is in the infirmary, Zuri actually appears there, and she says that she talked to Kellen, and Tao feels very betrayed. Even though she was like trying to help him, he feels very, very betrayed, and just basically tells her to like leave. And then I think he has a conversation with the leader of his group, and he tells him what he overheard the other night, that the natives and the Omehi are wanting peace, which he understands in the way that he knows that like the queen knows they would not win against the natives because they are just outnumbered as well, and they would just not win. So she wants to make peace so her people don't die. And then his leader is saying that the natives are tired of war and they want peace, and they want the guardians gone so the land can heal. And the guardians are the dragons. And Tao's like, why would they want the dragons gone? Like, what do you mean the land can heal? Like, what are you talking about?
And he says, their shamans believe that the guardians pour evil from Izihogo into our world. They think the dragons are poisoning the land, that they caused the curse. And I'm like, should I know what the curse is? Because I saw it on the map, and there's like a big section of their land that is called the curse. And I'll just put an image here on the screen. But like, did I miss when they explained what it was? Or like, am I supposed to know or not? Because I don't. But apparently the dragons might be causing that because they're bringing evil. They're bringing evil from the underworld dimension. And then after that conversation, they are attacked, like they're invaded by the natives. And they're confused because like if they're negotiating peace, why are they being attacked? But then they join like a group of people and they're all fighting, like the nobles and the lessers fighting together against the natives. And actually Tao gets close to that guy Kellen, and they're both like trying to figure out what the hell is going on. And then Zuri is there in the fight as well. And they basically get to the conclusion that the natives are attacking because they attacked first. Because they took one of the innovators, entreaters. They took one of the gifted when they were like in that negotiation that Tao saw. They took one of the Omehi's gifted because she was supposed to teach some other gifts. And basically, yeah, no, it's an entreater. It has to be an entreater because they realized that that's gifted has called one of the dragons to go attack the natives where they were discussing whatever. So they attacked first. And then they learned that that guy, the one that actually ordered Tao's father's death, he's the one like wanting to not have peace and have a war. And it's him that is like orchestrating this whole thing. And that is why the dragons attacked. And he also wants to kill the queen because he wants the power for himself. So basically now they're all on their way to save the queen. And that is where I'm at. And I am still really enjoying, like I was at a point, I was kind of tired of just seeing Tao's practice and just those fights. I love fight scenes, but it was just a lot of them. And I was starting to get a little tired of just that. But then like this new plot of the betrayal and having to save the queen, it definitely got more interesting again. So I am once again very invested. And speaking of the fight scenes, like this whole book has a lot of action and a lot of fights, and it just feels very fast paced. And so I'm reading it very like faster than I normally would. And that is why I read more than I said I would for this update as well. And yeah, it just reads very, very fast. And in terms of the characters, I still really like Tao. I think I said in my last update that I was kind of losing it, and he was, but I definitely understand. And there was a conversation he had with his leader that I'm never gonna find, probably. Okay, no, yeah, it's here. It was after, like, he got out of his hiding place to go find Kellen and they had to surrender. The leader was telling him, we could have changed everything. We had it in our grasp and you threw it away. You threw all of us away to take your petty revenge. Your father died. Does that make you special? How many fathers have died in this war? How many more will die because the nobles use the Lessers like a brick wall against the Hedeni hordes? How many more before Lessers have a say in the way our lives are spent? And I mean, like, I get both sides because obviously I understand Tao wanting revenge, but I also understand that he is jeopardizing everyone else for his personal revenge. So yeah, that's very complicated. But what I was gonna say is that I really still like Tao, and I really like how his friendship has developed with his sword brothers, because some of them, especially one of them, they were kind of enemies in the beginning, but now they're, brothers, and I really like them. They're really cute, and in a aggressive kind of way, but cute nonetheless. And I have 50 pages left, so I will finish this and I will be back. Okay, so I have finished the book, and in these last 50 pages, we see them, like I said, they were going to try to save the queen and stop that guy that was trying to kill the queen and also is causing this whole trouble and is also responsible for Tao's father's death. And that guy's name is Odili. And Tao finds him, but then he actually fights another guy instead, another guy who was also connected to his father's death. So he kills that guy, and then he follows the way that Odili went, and he finds the queen actually, but he loses Odili. And then Kellen and some other guys, like some of his sword brothers, get there, and they're all with the queen. And I mean, Tao wants to just go after Odili and kill him, but the queen asks all of them to just join her in the fight and basically fight Odili's guys and also the natives, who are just a whole mess outside, and they all agree to go help. And when they get outside, like, they start fighting, and then there is a dragon coming, and it's actually like that young dragon that they keep trapped, and it's Zuri who is controlling him. And so she is like in the underworld, drawing energy from it and just, controlling the dragon, which Tao knows is dangerous. So he, because like she said, a gifted always dies when a dragon is called. So he goes into the underworld and he draws energy from it to like attract the demons to him. And so he's being attacked by the demons, and then the queen gets into the underworld and she just like takes Tao out of there, because that is a power that only like the queen's lineage has, to just expel people from the underworld basically. And she takes him out, and then Zuri like loses control of the dragon, and it starts like attacking everyone, including her, and she dies. And I did not see that coming, and I was just shocked and sad, because I really actually liked her. So that happens, and then one guy, I think he must have been like the leader of the natives, he talks to the queen, and they make a deal to like wait another moon cycle, which I'm assuming is like a month, and he will wait another moon cycle because she tells him that like she was betrayed. She really wanted the peace, but she was betrayed by Odili, and so he will wait 1 month, but then like they will attack again basically. And so she needs to find Odili, who has ran off. And obviously Tao is not doing well with Zuri's death. I mean, he was already, consumed by pain and revenge, and now it's even worse. And then we get the prologue, which is the queen saying that she knows where Odili is and she needs his help to get him. And actually, before the prologue, like the last paragraph of the last chapter was so sad. Tao let his broken swords fall from his fingers. They were as useless on the battlement floor as they had been in his hands. The people he loved died either way. Like, how sad is that? That's so depressing. But anyway, we get to the prologue, and the queen is asking Tao to help because she knows where Odili is, like I said. And she's also saying that he controls the Palm City, and most of the royal nobles are swearing fealty to him. And so, yeah, things are getting worse. And she says, we need a hero to help us rebuild what has been broken. And he says, I'm no hero. And she says, you are to the lessers. You are to the people who still fight for us. And he says again, I am no hero. And then she says, then be a weapon, which he was definitely interested in. And so he said that he will indeed be the one to kill Odili. And yeah, the last 2 sentences was, and like that, there was no going back. A dragon had been called, and someone would have to die. And yeah, that was a great ending. I am so excited for book 2, but let's just get into my final thoughts. So as usual, starting off with the characters, and obviously starting off with Tao, because he was the one we followed throughout the whole book. I really, really liked him, and I loved following his journey, like, as sad as it was. Enjoyed is not a good word, because it was not enjoyable, because it was sad and horrible, but like, in terms of a story, it was a great story. And so I really enjoyed him, and I mean, it was also like really sad to see how he changed from such a precious boy to someone who was just consumed by pain and revenge, like I said, because that was literally the only thing he thought about, the only thing he worked towards. It was his whole life. even while Zuri was still alive, and now I'm sure it's gonna be a lot worse. And speaking of Zuri, I also really liked her. She was also precious, and she was, yeah, I really liked her, and it was so sad. I really did not see her death coming. I literally, like, I stopped reading for a second. It was like, what? Did that really just happen? Because it was sad and it was shocking. And I also really liked the leader of Tao's group, who also died. I think I forgot to mention. He also died. And I also really liked how Tao and his Stork brother's relationship developed. That was also so cute. And I really love them because, you know, they really feel like they're brothers and they're adorable. And also that guy, Kellen, I mean, now that we know that he's not actually a bad person, he's actually like pretty cool. So I'm hoping we get more from him in book 2. And yeah, in general, I really like the characters, except the ones who were supposed to be horrible, who really were horrible. And I really want them dead. So like that Odili guy, I really need him to die. And in terms of the plot, like I think I said, this was the most intense start to any book or series that I have ever read. And like I was hooked from page 1. And then I loved the plot, I loved the world building, and also the powers were very interesting. And I mean, it has dragons. And I mean, I was like towards the 50% mark, a little after that. I was getting a little like tired of just the fighting, but I mean, it started super strong, and then it kind of, I mean, it's not that I was bored. I was not bored like for a single second in this book, but I was just, you know, a little tired of just the fights, even though I love fight scenes. But then like this whole plot with the queen and the betrayal and everything, like it got super exciting again. And so the ending was also so good. And yeah, I think I already mentioned that because there were so many fight scenes and like so much action, like I was never bored. There was not a single second that I felt like it was moving too slow. Even if like the plot wasn't progressing as fast, there was always like something happening. It was a lot of action. So the pacing felt pretty fast, which I also appreciated. And yeah, I had a lot of, again, fun is not definitely not the word, because it was sad, it was heartbreaking, but I do love things that make me sad. So love this book, had a great time with it, and I give it 4 stars, and I cannot wait to read book 2, which I do have. And also like this book, like it's not floppy at all, but book 2, it's so floppy, and we love floppy books. So I am so excited. Like, look at this. I can read it without breaking the spine, which I know is a controversial thing, and some people hate breaking the spines and people who break the spines, but I do break the spine because I cannot read a book like this. You know, this is not a thing that I can do. So I do break spines, but I don't have to break it for this one, and just happy. Anyway, that is everything for this week's video. I really hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, give it a like and subscribe, and I will talk to you next time. Bye!